Firefighting activity restarted this morning, and I'm pleased to say that the fire on the Stena Immaculate appears to be extinguished, but the Salong continues to burn. Although they became attached to each other during the collision, the Salong broke free of the Stena Immaculate late last night and began drifting southwards. Modelling suggests that, should the Salong remain afloat, it will remain clear of land for the next few hours. The assessment of His Majesty's Coast Guard is, however, that it is unlikely the vessel will remain afloat. International partners for their many offers of assistance to the UK and the support. The full crew of 23 on the Immaculate is accounted for and on shore. One sailor was treated at the scene but declined any further medical assistance. 13 of the 14 sailors of the MV Salong are accounted for. Search and rescue operations for the missing sailor continued throughout yesterday, but were called off yesterday evening at the point of which the chances of their survival had unfortunately significantly diminished. Our working assumption is that, very sadly, that the sailor is deceased. Regarding the cargo of the vessels, the MV Stena was carrying 220,000 barrels of jet fuel, which was the source of the fire. The MCA is working at pace to determine exactly what cargo the Salong is carrying. I am aware of media reporting regarding potential hazardous materials on board, but we are unable to confirm at this time. However, counter-pollution measures and assets are already in place, and both vessels are being closely monitored for structural integrity.
Obviously, our concern would be any kind of toxic substance going into the marine environment, the impact it could have both immediately in that sort of marine space in terms of poisoning fish and other species that are using those protected marine environments, but also the potential for that substance to get into the system of fish that would then also impact on the wider sort of food web. So on the species like some of the seabirds, for example, the marine mammals, which depend on those fish. On the Humber Estuary at this time of year, you have over 150,000 wintering wildfowl and waders, birds which are there feeding up, and that's what they spend their winter doing. They're on those mudflats. They're using those as a food source with a view to sort of feeding themselves up. And then what they'll do later this year, probably in the next month or so, is they would then be leaving the Humber Estuary and going into Northern Europe, Scandinavia, Russia, where they spend their summer and breed. So the worry there would be that something gets into that system and has that impact. The initial views of what substances we're talking about might be that we're talking about something that's a bit more of a short-term impact, but that impact would then still have a long-term knock on because of the fact it will stay in those systems and it will magnify through them. We're seeing a very good quick response, and that continues, because what you need to do is contain the spills. That can be done by things like booms, which can be put down onto the sea surface, and that helps actually contain the spill into a single location. And then it's about what can be done to burn it off more quickly, get it out of the system.
there were reports of fog earlier, but modern ships have anti-collision systems, they have radar and so on. The Stena ship could have done very little about it. It couldn't have moved away because it was at anchor. It wouldn't have had time to respond by the time it got its engines warmed up and everything else. But the Solong should have avoided it, and it would be down to incompetence on behalf of Solong. There is no reason why in the 21st century two ships should collide.
Mayday.